Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Qur'anite.com, and today I want to talk about the elite, or the so-called elite. I'm addressing those people who understand what's going on in the world, who understand that we're living through a business plan dressed up as world events. If you still vote or think that you have a choice, good for you, but I don't think much of what I'm going to say is going to resonate with you. I suggest you go back and read The Guardian. But I'm talking to people who have gone beyond this, who understand that we're living through a system of interlocking fraternities which work together toward a common purpose. Fundamentally, this is a satanic structure comprising some very evil but also some indifferent and even good people. However, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and the ends do not justify the means. The ends are defined by the means, and whatever means you use, those are the ends you're going to find. It just works that way. So it's, for me, axiomatic that we are ruled, and I'm talking about these people. It's very easy if you're involved in 9/11 Truth or the Patrick community, or in some way engaged in a battle against the forces of evil, to lose sight of the big picture. And when I'm talking about the big picture here, I'm not just talking about, in fact, I'm not talking about the fact that there is a parallel government, and it answers certainly not to us. It answers to a cabal of bankers and Satanists. And I know how difficult it can be. I know how easy it is to feel in some way separated from especially family and friends, and each of us goes through a moral and personal process of purification and the testing of our convictions, because it's hard to stand up and just trust what you know, especially when you're surrounded by people who won't do that. But the big picture I'm talking about now is not simply the geopolitical big picture. It's not the big picture of Big Brother, etc., etc. I mean a bigger picture than that. We are lied to from day one, and in fact, even before day one now, with the introduction of injections for pregnant mothers, this system of satanic corruption is getting its tentacles into us from now, even before we're born, through poisoned food, poisoned water, and quite frankly indoctrinated parents who can't see the hand in front of their face. Amongst the litany of lies that we are indoctrinated into, have inculcated in us, is the idea that we grew out of, evolved out of a fish. Evolution, by the way, is not a new idea. I've recently studied ancient philosophy, philosophy from the ancient world. Evolution was put out there, according to my reading, first by a chap called Empedocles, who thought that arms and legs sort of evolved by themselves, and then somehow through some nebulous process attracted one another and slowly became bodies. And then there was a sort of battle of the fittest, through which process man and I assume the animal kingdom came into being. Ludicrous, isn't it? But no more ludicrous than what we are told to believe today. We are indoctrinated into the idea of the accidental universe. that for no reason the universe came into being. This is ludicrous. And yet another of these insanely wild theories that we have rammed down our throats from day one is the idea of the ball Earth. This is maintained by the CGI departments of NASA and Hollywood, and we're indoctrinated into it from day one. Now, just remember that the same people who are telling you that you are an overblown microbe, that the universe came into being with no designer, no creator, and God help us, with no objective purpose. The same people who are telling us that even though roads are laid flat and water lies flat and everything feels still and looks flat, we are in fact on a ball, hurtling through space at tens of thousands of miles an hour. Yes, these people want us to believe that this life is all there is. Solipsism. Solipsism is one of my favourite words. I only came across it about 6 months ago. It's a wonderful word. Look solipsism up if you don't know it. Solipsism is a natural corollary to physical relativism. So basically, if you're just a microbe stuck out in some corner, far-flung, unremarkable, tiny, meaningless corner of an infinite universe, then and this life is all there is, then you can believe what you like, because none of it matters. But it does matter. As G.K. Chesterton remarked, what you believe is the only thing that matters. And it's the only thing that matters for what reason? It's the only thing that really matters because everything else that you will do, everything else that you will decide, the decisions that you will make are based upon the foundation of what it is you believe. So it really does matter what you believe. You hear, I call them the Teletubbies, you hear the Teletubbies parroting the notion that it doesn't matter what you believe. We all just believe what we like. It doesn't really matter what you believe. I beg to disagree. It really does matter what you believe. If people can be manipulated to believe, to go from a normal state whereby a family is a man and a woman having children, to men buggering each other openly, then the next step is what? Children, isn't it? So it matters what you believe. And what I've seen is that when people have no concept of a creator and no concept of any sort of real accountability, then solipsism is the natural conclusion. You can do what you like. So it matters greatly what we're brought up to believe about the physical universe. And as an increasing number of people are realizing, it's all rubbish. It's lies. NASA has got nothing. In the words of Robert De Niro, you got nothing. They've got nothing. A couple of very bad CGI photographs of Earth, admittedly doctored in Photoshop. They've got nothing. You'd think there'd be a webcam stuck on the moon pointing at Earth. You'd think we would be able to see the buildings of cities going over the curvature at an angle. If this were all true, they've got nothing. It's an illusion. It's a lie. Actually, I don't care what shape the Earth is. I want the truth. But what they're telling us is a lie. So it does matter what you believe, and they care very much what we believe. And the reason why they care so much what we believe is because if they can get you believing that you're just basically a microbe whose only purpose is to shop and fornicate, then you won't be ready to die for a higher purpose. In military terms, you've been neutralized. Microbes don't have a higher purpose. Despite the smoke, the mirrors, the lies, the accusations, the name-calling, of the created culture in which we live. We are created beings, and we are created by God and for a purpose. And the universe is the work of his hands. It's amazing and wonderful to me to see people waking up at last to the verifiable fact that both the shape and the location of the earth correspond to what the Tanakh, or the Jewish Bible, and the Qur'an say about it. And my point is that since these things are now being outed as true, it puts the remaining assertions of those people who have lied to us so consistently in doubt. Now, I accept the Qur'an as valid. I accept it as valid because I've investigated it thoroughly. If you would like to investigate it thoroughly for yourself, you may do so by clicking on the button in the top right-hand corner, which will take you to Qur'anite.com, where you can download my work, the Qur'an, A Complete Revelation, for free, and verify what I'm saying to your own satisfaction. However, I reject the religion called Islam on the basis of the contents of the Qur'an. The Qur'an is very clear about things. Those who believe in God and the last day, i.e. the day of judgment, and do good works, they have their reward. This is the baseline theology. There's nothing in there about bowing down to boxes, shouting Allahu Akbar, growing a long beard. None of this later rubbish is in the Qur'an. I'm discussing the Qur'an. I'm not interested in the brand Islam, this thing created later on. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the contents of the Qur'an as a book, as a complete revelation, which is what it claims to be. So, according then to this book, reward is the lot of the man or woman who believes in God. There's no religion being discussed here. Believes in God and the last day and does good works. That's it. Full stop. New paragraph. At the same time, the Qur'an is equally clear about punishment. There's no question. There's a hell. There's no question about this. Now, our culture creation system has told us that there isn't. We're just flies endlessly heading toward the zinger in the corner of the butcher's, and that's it, you're gone. Well, okay, remember, these are the same people who told us the earth is a spinning ball, defying all known laws of physics, that we evolved out of fish, and that the entire universe came into being from nowhere. It's those people, okay, who are telling us that there's no life after this, that this life is all there is. The Qur'an completely refutes that, and it emphasizes that the evildoers are walking, in some cases running, towards a lake of fire. And this fire, this hell, will be their home for eternity. Now, I'd like you to think about that the next time you think about the evildoers of the past. Let's say the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgans, the Rockefellers, and the other schemers, liars and scammers of, let's say, 100 years ago. Now, these people are contemporary enough for us to find clips of them on YouTube. And I've done that. I've looked at them, and you should see the arrogance, the contempt for mankind that's ingrained into every pore of their bearing, their air of entitlement. You can see it. You can see what they're thinking. They're thinking, I'm never going to die. But they did. And after a lifetime of creating evil and corruption and destroying the livelihood and morality of millions, what do you think happened to these people as they shuffled off this mortal coil? Do you think they were met on a plush red carpet by a host of sycophantic angelic interns bearing perfect martinis and choice picks from Maxim's, along with neatly folded hand towels? No. Well, not according to the Qur'an they weren't. They denied their maker. They caused corruption on the earth. They did no good works. Even their so-called philanthropy is just a cover for more evil. And now they are burning in hell. If you haven't done so, I would recommend checking out some YouTube videos by people who had what are called near-death experiences and went to hell. Now, I wouldn't limit yourself to Christian accounts. There are some very compelling accounts by previously secular Jews, and they're all worth watching. You'll quickly see that a particular type of Christianity has cornered this market, and it would have you come to conclusions which are in keeping with its assumptions. But if you take my advice and broaden your search, you'll see that the references which colour NDEs in hell are largely dependent upon the background and worldview of the person involved. But the constants across all cultural backgrounds are undeniable and sobering. Hell is, well, hellish. It's a punishment of the most horrendous kind. There is no time there. Eternity just is. So there's no end. And because there's no end, there's no concept of hope. It doesn't matter what tribe you come from, how rich you were. None of this matters. God's judgment is righteous and inescapable. Now, I'm sort of entering the foothills of my point. Members of the so-called elite, they're not going to finesse their way out of this. They're not going to, hire Saatchi & Saatchi and half a dozen other public relations companies to smooth out the crumples of this particular blanket. No. God's judgment is righteous and inescapable, and their deeds, like ours, are waiting for them. And the outlook, frankly, is not good. So I'm not saying don't fight the elite. Sure, fight these satanic evil corruptors of morals and goodness. But also keep your eye on the bigger picture, the big picture, which is remember where they're going. We shouldn't get so wrapped up in fighting them that we end up following them. My advice is make peace with God, serve Him alone, and be a smart investor. As Jesus says in the Gospels, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Now, if we listen to the Warren Buffetts of the world, who will tell us, what being a smart investor is, Warren Buffett's going to die. Warren Buffett has a set number of days that he will live. George Soros has a set number of days that he will live. And then denying your creator and creating corruption on this earth, is that a good investment? I would say no. Now, in summary, the Qur'an is clear. God gives evildoers the opportunity to do more wrong in this life, so He can increase their punishment. Those who seek support from idols, such as the elite, and they do, these are Satan worshippers, end up in the fire. Those who follow the ungodly will regret it forever. This life is an illusion, and this life is over in a very short while. And even if the elite gets its life extensions, its transhumanism, all the stuff that it's after, the Qur'an is very clear. It would make no difference, even if a man lives 1,000 years. And however clever these schemers seem to be, and they do seem to be clever, and I'll admit they are clever. I mean, I agree with a lot of their analysis. They're correct. They are correct. There's no question in their analysis. But in their conclusions, I don't think so. And however clever they think they are, however many think tanks they've got, however many altars they sacrifice on, however much blood they drink, however much they channel demons and are possessed by what the Qur'an would call a jinn, however much they scheme, God is the best of schemers. God is above anything that they can conceive of. There is no escape. So, there's a fundamental problem to their plan. If they could only solve the mortality question they'd kind of be home and dry, but they're never going to be able to. The Qur'an tells us every man dies. We're all going to die. There's no way out of this. They're not immortal. And this is a big problem. Let's put it this way. We are all on a train heading toward a cliff. I mean, the cliff is however far ahead it is for each of us. But, there's a cliff. And people like you and me, we're way back in steerage somewhere, scrabbling over the hard, unpleasant seating arrangements, sat next to fat, sweaty aunties and, men with no teeth playing the harmonica. The elite, on the other hand, are up in the first class and business class carriages, sipping on a martini, looking out of the windows as they sink their bottoms into the most comfortable leather hand-stitched seats while being waited on by sycophantic waiters. But my point is this: we're on the same train. Now, some of us may be in first class, business class, second class, and in steerage, and some people, hobos, somehow just manage to jump into the wagons at the back and in there with the sheep and the donkeys. However, the whole train is going over the cliff. There is no way out of that. It doesn't matter who you are. And this is a fundamental problem that the elite have. It's the turd in the punch bowl of what it is to be a Satanist. And it's a pretty big turd. Now I'm going to close with a few verses from the Qur'an which relates to what I've been talking about. At 3:178 we read, "And let not those who are indifferent to warning think that we but reprieve them good for their souls. We but reprieve them that they might increase in falsehood, and they have a humiliating punishment." 2:257 to 2:58 reads, "God is the ally of those who heed warning. He brings them out of darkness into the light. And those who are indifferent to warning, their allies are idols. They bring them out of the light into darkness. These are the companions of the fire. They are eternal therein." 2:165 to 167 reads, "And had those who do wrong seen when they will see the punishment, that power belongs to God altogether, and that God is severe in punishment, and those who were followed will disown those who followed, and they see the punishment, and the connections between them are cut off, and those who followed will say, were we to return, we would disown them just as they have disowned us. Thus will God show them their deeds as regrets for them, and they will not come out of the fire." 57:20 reads, "Know that the life of this world is but play and diversion and embellishment and mutual boasting among you, and competition for increase in wealth and children. Like the example of a rain, it impresses the atheists with its growth. Then it withers, and thou seest it turn to yellow. Then it becomes chaff. And in the hereafter is severe punishment, and forgiveness, and good pleasure from God. And the life of this world is only the enjoyment of deception." 79:42 to 46 read, "They ask thee concerning the hour, when its arrival will be. What is any reminder thereof to thee? To thy Lord is the finality thereof. Thou but warnest him who fears it. The day they see it will be as though they have not tarried save an evening or a morning thereof." 2:96 reads, "One of them would love to be given the span of 1,000 years, but it would not remove him from the punishment were he to be given the span. And God sees what they do." And finally, 3:54 reads, "And they schemed, and God schemed, and God is the best of schemers." That's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Qur'an using the button in the top right corner. I also encourage you to sign up to the Qur'anite Plus newsletter on the site to get regular micro updates. Like if you like, comment if you have something to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And remember, this life is short. Eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.